Okay, so we ended last time on this. Do y'all know what Cleveland's political problem is? Illegitimate child, right? And he's not having like the most wholesome life, because a wholesome life meant he would have been what with this lady? Married, so he has a baby mama. But we know that there's other issue with this candidate, that he's sitting in a congregation where the minister is insulting what group?
The Jewish.
That's one group that always gets insulted, but we're insulting the Irish here. Okay? Because the Jewish people are not Romanism. Oh yeah, just FYI. They don't believe Jesus has come. The Catholics do. Okay, but he's insulting the Irish, and so Blaine's problem is that he's slow to repudiate, slow to be like, that's not true. And so he loses the vote of the Irish, and we will see Cleveland will win the election. Cleveland is actually the first Democrat since Buchanan to come into office. And you have to realize the fear that the Republicans had. 6 presidents have come. Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, that have all been Republican. They feared that if a Democrat got office, that they would overturn a set of laws. Do you know what set of laws they were fearful a Democrat would overturn? It's 3 of them together. 13, 14, and 15. They were fearful that a president would overturn that, but hasn't the South already done that? How did they do that? Jim Crow, Plessy, what else? Grandfather clause, poll tax, literacy test. So there's no fear. A Democrat could come because they've already done that. But you have to understand a Democrat, he is a Southerner. Is he for the tariff or against the tariff? And so a lot of those issues that we saw that were a cause of the Civil War are going to come back and rear their ugly head. And we're going to see Cleveland, he believes that the government should be for the people, but he's going to be laissez-faire. So what does that mean again? Not regulating, right? Hands off. And so when bills came in to help the poor, he didn't sign them. When bills came in to assist the rich, he didn't sign them. He's being very laissez-faire. When pension bills came to him to help Civil War veterans, he did not sign them. So is he spending any money? No, and we're going to realize that he does not much to tame democracy at this time. He's very hands-off. But the tariff issue is going to come before him. During the Civil War, our federal government raised the tariff to protect the northern industries, and they could do this because the South was out. They were in the Confederate States. And what has occurred is big business wants to continue this, but he's a Democrat. Does he want the tariff? No, and so he starts looking and investigating and researching more about this tariff, and he realizes this tariff has amassed the United States government $100 million in revenue. Does the government need that? They have a surplus. So are they really spending this? No. So if they're not spending it, do they need to tax the people that? No. Who would get really upset that he's now considering to get rid of this tariff because we have excess money? The northern manufacturers, the Republicans. Even within his party, the mugwumps oppose that tariff. They're like, just get rid of it. So Cleveland's view on the tariff is he's against it. And this is going to be brought into the 1888 election. The tariff is what's going to divide our country. And so Harrison, who's a Republican, is he for or against the tariff? For. Cleveland is what? Against. Okay, so I want you to tell me what types of people in America would vote for Harrison, that he wants to keep the tariff. Northern manufacturers, right? Who would vote for Cleveland? Farmers. Who else? Would we as consumers back then? Because what does the tariff do with goods? Would workers vote for Harrison or would they vote for Cleveland? Cleveland. Okay, we're going to look at a political cartoon. And in this political cartoon, it's going to come back to chapter 26. On chapter 26, study guide question 50. A lot of y'all left that blank. That question on that study guide stated that how did the businesses affect the election? And I want you to look, there's a lot going on this image. I want you to look at this image. Right, there's a lot going on. I want you to talk to your partner. If you could identify the different groups in this political cartoon. Identify the different groups. Who do you think is who? What is going on? So talk to your partner. So what I want you to do, go in and here's the calendar, put the calendars in there. And then the next one, find that PowerPoint and just organize this for me. Yes, but also I have the bind organization sheet. Organize it in this order. It's a mess right now because so you may just need to take
Like, because here it says that employers who threaten workers to be
this is all that you need. And here's all this other stuff that you need.
So are they wearing
I have more hanging files if you need some.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah, that's
Here's
very good.
organize my life, please. Okay. Have y'all noticed that there's how many groups? 3. Okay, what is the biggest group? The workers. How do the workers look? What are they wearing? They have the little box hats, right? And then they have work clothes, right, that are ratty-tatty. What's the next group?
The guys whipping them.
The guys whipping them. Okay, what do you think they are? The business owners. Do y'all see in this guy's pocket, it says monopolist? Okay, so he is the owner, right? Who else is assisting him? This guy over here with the other whip, it says discharge. Okay, what do you think that guy's job is? He's not the owner, but he's what? Manager. Okay? So then there's the third guy. The 2 other guys. What is this guy doing? Ballots. So what is going on this day? It's a election day. And so, okay, so when I go and vote in April, do you think Miss Harris is going to go with me to the polls with a whip? It just sounds so naughty, right? It does. Thank God she did not walk by as I was saying that. But my boss is not going to go with me to the polls with a whip, right? Okay, so what did y'all say workers were going to vote? What party? Democrats, because did they want the tariff? No, because the tariff would do what with prices? Okay, so then the guy with the whips, how would they vote? Republican. Okay, they're at the polls. Do y'all see what one of the whips says?
Coercion.
What does that mean? To be forced, to make them do it. Okay, so what do you think these bosses are making their workers do? Or else they get fired, because y'all see the discharge papers. So do y'all now get question 50? How were workers influenced to vote for the Republican Party? They were threatened that what will be lost? Their jobs. And this is chapter 26 study guide, not the chapter 23 study guide you have. This was the study guide from last time. So is this honest politics? Remember I told you in the era of the Gilded Age, over 75% of the people were showing up to the polls? Do you now understand why? Either they're being coerced by their business owners, or they're being coerced by the political machine. Remember we talked about that with Boss Tweed? Good afternoon. Hey. I'll send him right now. Thanks, Tyler. You need to go see Miss Moore down in the college and advisory area in the library. Just start screaming her name. Okay? So do y'all get question 50 now? Okay. So I'm going to keep on going. So who do y'all predict to win now?
Manufacturer.
Okay. So Harrison with the manufacturer owners wins the election. And we talked about Cleveland's one of his biggest things with that tariff. He said he had a surplus. What do you think Harrison's going to do with that surplus?
Spend it.
Spend it. Okay, and this is what we're going to be looking on our other notes, but I'm just going to go through it quickly, and we have a note set that calls the revolt of the debtors that we'll look at. He's just gonna spend a lot, but I wanna look at, we know Cleveland will win again. I'm not gonna talk about that, I'm gonna talk about it later. I need to talk about an image. Before I move to go into our notes of where we're gonna start with the revolt of the debtors, we're gonna look at this image. There is two groups in this image. Do y'all see the two groups? Okay, talk to your partner about who's in this group and who's in this group.
They're giving us
It's Santa.
legislation.
Okay, this is not Santa and his
Monopoly
elves.
man, you eat too much.
Okay, who's in this group right here?
No worries.
Workers, farmers, who else? How about this guy with the top hat? Smaller businesses, okay, so what are they, who's on the other group? Okay, what did we say a trust was? Several businesses coming together to create a monopoly. Okay, I want us to now look at what's in the middle. These guys are on their knees, right? And what are they giving? Okay, what is this tax? What have we just discussed? The tariff, right? What does this bag say? Okay, wages. So tell me how, why would they be giving their wages? I thought their boss was supposed to be giving them wages.
Well, the tariff is tax or.
That's what the tax bag is.
Isn't the company cities?
Oh, the company towns, remember that? How they built the company way out from the city, so the factory owner made the factory on the outside, so they basically earned the money and then they were repaying their boss for their living conditions, right? And the grocery store. So this political cartoon is really focused on how these guys are giving their stuff, right, to these monopolists, right? And what do these guys endorse?
Monopoly.
And monopolies, right? They want what type of tariff? A high tariff, right? Do they want a tariff?
No.
Because what does that do to the cost of goods? Do we see a class warfare right here over issues? So what party do you think this side's for? Democrats. What side do you think this side is for? Okay, so also y'all said yes, tariff and monopolies, but what is this guy holding? Again, I told you the government was in the hands of who? Isn't this verbatim what I'm saying? Just in a visual form. So as we go through this next PowerPoint, we're really going to see a class strife. That the rich are going to be into one party and our masses are going to be huddled into another party. But do y'all get the political cartoon now? Okay.